it's about 5 o'clock, so I think we're going to go ahead and start. I should say 5 o'clock Eastern. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's such a busy holiday time, and we really appreciate you coming and being with us today to learn how HealthTree is investing in cures. My name is Laura Gilman. I'm the Chief Growth Officer here at HealthTree, and my job is to work with Jenny, the team, and the entire patient and caregiver community to make sure that we are moving as fast and efficiently as possible to improve patient outcomes and find cures. One area I am super focused on is engaging our community. You're going to hear today from Jenny Ahlstrom, our CEO and founder, and she's going to take you through a presentation that talks about our innovative model and where we are headed. You're also going to hear from our community engagement manager, Taryn Placko. She's going to be speaking with Jeff Mulder, who we call internally an ultimate cure contributor, and he'll explain a little bit about what that means and why we refer to him as such. He will really talk to you about the importance of participation, sharing data, and being involved, and also really explain that this is something that any patient, caregiver, or anybody that cares about the patient community can do. They can all get involved. So we will also move on towards the end to Q&A, and you can put any questions that you have in the Q&A. And I'm going to turn it over to Jenny now, and I will speak with you towards the end of the presentation. Jenny Ahlstrom?
Great, thank you, Laura, for the introduction. I wanted to first talk a little bit about how we are doing such unique things. Everyone knows that we are a patient advocate organization, but really HealthTree is the market leader in digital health advocacy. Now, what does that mean? Because that might not make sense. But basically, it means that we are on a mission to accelerate the discovery of cures for myeloma, leukemia, lymphoma, and MPNs by leveraging our internally developed cutting-edge technology that connects patients and researchers through data-driven collaboration. And that means we empower patients, we improve outcomes, and we enable faster and more comprehensive research. We asked ourselves when we created the foundation, why is cancer research so slow? To me, it didn't make sense as a myeloma patient that I might have to wait 2 decades to find a myeloma cure. We're getting closer, clearly, in that disease, but it's still frustrating. It's because limited access to cancer patients and their data has significantly slowed this research. Really, cures get throttled without digital health advocacy. That means bringing the right tools to patients so we can help advance cures. Now, we know that data drives cures, but here are a laundry list of problems with data driving cures. Data is living in silos right now. Data is locked down inside of each hospital with HIPAA violations if they share it. A lot of the data is locked in patients' heads and is not shared. Also, data is usually, at one facility, it might just have a little slice in time of your data. You may have gone to 3 or 4 centers over the course of your care. Data that's coming in now that we can see it, it's messy, it's missing, and sometimes it's inaccurate. And it's definitely not standardized from hospital to hospital. Some of it comes over in paper format, so it's unstructured. That's what we call unstructured data. And if doctors want access to this data, it's very expensive for them to get it. So how are we solving these problems? We're creating this HealthTree Cure Hub registry, which is a single database. So data is no longer locked down in silos because we're going directly to you as patients and inviting you to contribute your data. So we move around all of the institutional barriers and regulations by keeping your data in a single database in a safe and structured way. It's not locked down anymore because we have interoperability connections to over 3,000 hospitals in the United States. We invite you to share your side effects, for example, and other data about yourselves, like if these diseases are in your family, or if you've got, prior surgeries or other comorbidities or things like that, other health issues that might be influencing. This facilitates what we're able to do. We can now facilitate across hospital collaboration, but we don't have to go to each individual hospital and ask for their permission to do it. It's unbelievably more efficient than the standard traditional model. We collect all the data from the start of your diagnosis, so everything is in a single place and there's nothing missing. And we provide real-time updates and access to the data. Our team can also clean the data. So what do we mean by that? Cleaning means something, just to give you an example, in myeloma patients, 21% of MGUS patients are coming over in the electronic health records as myeloma patients. So we have to actually, just because of how the codes work, so we have to actually go in and manually look at the doc notes and see that you actually have an MGUS diagnosis and not a diagnosis of myeloma. So we clean up things like that. It's not standardized either. So your genetics testing, like your FISH test, that's coming over in a PDF form. So is it like a paper document? So our team is going in and pulling that information off as well. That's what this unstructured data means, but you can't search on things if they're in paper format. And we're providing this for free for the myeloma docs and other researchers. So how do we solve this problem? Because that's what we've done. It's working successfully. We have over 10,000 patients in the HealthTree Cure Hub data registry. How do we do it? Well, first, we built trust with you. We provide lifetime personalized support and education. We have many educational programs. I know a lot of you have taken advantage of these programs. We hope you continue to do that. We will continue to run and offer these programs because you as an empowered patient are going to live longer because you ask better questions in the clinic and you are empowered to really facilitate your care in shared decision making. We also have a connection piece. So we're connecting you to each other. In that first pillar, we're connecting you with experts. But in the second pillar, we're connecting you with each other. So that can include our coach program or our HealthTree Connect program, our REACH program, like our Black Myeloma Health program, our Hispanic health programs, and the other support programs that you're going to see Taryn will talk about a little bit with our regional cure teams for all of the blood cancers. And then we have our unique HealthTree Cure Hub registry. So what is it? Right now, it's the most complete myeloma data registry in the world. We are now adding additional disease registries for lymphoma, leukemia, and MPNs. So we invite you to join those registries. Those connections, we have hospital connections to over, like I said, 3,000 hospitals and into one registry for each disease. We built the technology ourselves, and I think that's what really differentiates ourselves from others who might pick and choose different pieces of technology that you kind of have to put together. Everything that we've built now over 14 software tools, and those tools are fully integrated. So you only have one sign-on. We make the interface for you as simple and as understandable as possible. And it's not just the technology that we built, but it's also our patient navigators who can talk to you on the phone about your labs and things like that. Our medical team that's helping clean the data, and our research team that's facilitating projects. So this is just a small sampling of researchers that we have invited to participate in the research that now we could facilitate. We started our foundation in 2012. This data portal we launched formally in 2018. And since then, we have done over 167 surveys and studies. The number is bigger now because these numbers are from mid-year. So we're probably up to about 180 surveys and studies now. With over 72,000 patient participants, this is a testament to you and the incredible help you are providing advance the field for myeloma researchers and leukemia and lymphoma and MPN researchers. It's unbelievable what you're helping do. We've worked with over 150 investigators. It takes us, we can recruit in weeks instead of months or years into these projects. And our shortest project was over, done, and completed for free for a researcher in less than 2 months. And we have several projects that are like that. This is just an example. I'll give you two myeloma examples because that's what we're working on two of these projects right now. But the question is, and this is what I wanted to know when I was diagnosed, what's the best possible treatment for me as a newly diagnosed patient based on my genetics? And these two doctors are working at the University of Miami to ask if they can build a computerized model to predict the risk for these patients. Yes, so they got their own patients, but they realized they need thousands of patients. So now we are facilitating this study, and we go get unstained bone marrow slides. When you get a bone marrow, you get about a block of 200. We're asking for 5. And if you want to sign up for this study, we invite you to do it because all that's required is just a consent and a medical records connection, and you will help this researcher move this question forward faster. We think it's one of the most important projects that we're working on right now with him. We're also doing things like studying new drugs that come out in classes. So we'll be recruiting for this study for 3 years. It's all about bispecific antibodies. This is specifically in myeloma. And it's, can we determine how, when, and for whom bispecific antibodies are appropriate? What should be done first? As you can see, we have a large group of investigators that are doing this study for us. We're also partnering with the International Myeloma Society, or IMS, for this project. And that is an international group of researchers that get together and do projects together. So we're helping facilitate that as well. And yes, we can, but we need hundreds of patients' information and your experiences. We need to hear from you. What was your caregiver burden like? Was there one? Did you go back and forth between an academic center and a local oncology center? So if you have had a bispecific antibody in myeloma, we invite you to join this very important study. We'll do a similar one for CAR-T in the first quarter of next year. So here's what some researchers are basically saying about us. We've been quick to work with. We provide all of this information to the researchers for free. We're saving years in our research. So I won't read that quote to you, but we have 2 pages of quotes. These investigators are thrilled to be able to have access to us as patients who are very happy to join their surveys and their studies, and because this is curing us faster when we participate. We realized that we were capable of doing more, and we started getting invitations to become people's data vendors because apparently at academic centers that's tough, and the technology at academic research centers is is lagging. So we already had this in place. We're thrilled to announce that we just announced this at our ASH reception last week, and we are opening up our data to expand our potential. We are facilitating individual free institutional registries for different academic centers. And now we have a list of beta partners that I'll show you. But we want to enable thousands of simultaneous research projects. HealthTree does not want to be the bottleneck in answering key questions in myeloma. Our goal is to have 25,000 patients in HealthTree Cure Hub by the end of next year. We have 10,000 right now, and we know that we can do this with your help. We want to provide also researchers with data and automated research tools. And if you have questions during the Q&A, JP, who is our CTO, is on the line to also answer those questions. These will be our initial beta partners. You'll see that we're working with major academic centers, and really what we're doing is going around institutional and regulatory blockers that slow the pace of research, because we're inviting you to participate. So over next year, if you are at one of these centers, you will see us coming to your city. You will see us inviting the investigators to come and talk to patients at your center about these. And these investigators will also have access to the other data that we have in the HealthTree Cure Hub registry. Now know that when they are working with data, if they are not your doctor, everything is de-identified, so they cannot see who you are. They just see things in aggregate, so they're not able to see that. I think I'll let JP talk a little bit about the AI-enabled platform, but once we started uncovering all these critical research barriers that these smart and brilliant investigators were facing, and we wanted to make that so much easier. So I think, JP, maybe you can explain this piece.
Absolutely. There's two big problems we keep hearing over and over from these investigators. One is that even when they get finally access to data, it is very hard to extract the important variables and the data pieces because a lot of the data is on unstructured doctor's notes. So whenever somebody connects records to HealthTree and to any platform really, a lot of it is structured data, labs, and but a lot of the important things are just on the visits, and it's your medical history, it's comorbidities from 10 years ago. So one of the things we're doing is we have a medical team that has been working over the last 5 years to go clean that data, extract the important data pieces, and now we're training AI to replicate and leverage all the work we've been doing for the last 5 years to try to automate that and get data to researchers as fast as possible. The second one is now you have clean data. How do I access that? I need a data scientist, or maybe I need a biostatistician, and that gets complicated. So we're creating AI tools that allows doctors to talk to the database. This is the era of AI. I'm sure a lot of you have used ChatGPT or tools like that. So we're building a tool that will help doctors get data and start asking questions without technical knowledge. So that takes hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars of overhead and allows doctors to directly interact with the database. And they are very excited about it.
Some of the comments that we got from the ASH reception that we just hosted on, what day was it? I'm all out of days. Tuesday, I believe.
Yeah.
Was basically, I'm blown away. What you're doing is extraordinary. This has never been done before. I can't believe it. We're so excited to participate. So it was so nice to hear that we're on the right track, that we're expanding our capabilities. And if you can imagine having a data and AI assistant, you don't have to hire one at your center or build one at your center. And we can replicate that across 20, 50, 200 centers for them. You can only imagine the cost and time savings that we're providing. I think with that, we'll turn the time over to Taryn and Jeff.
Taryn is our community engagement manager, as I had mentioned earlier, and Jeff Mulder is what we call our ultimate cure contributor. He is a myeloma patient who has joined Cure Hub, taken close to 10 quick surveys and studies that have absolutely moved the needle in research by his participation, has raised over $700,000 for nonprofits. He raises awareness. He inspires patients, he contributes financially, and he contributes his data to further research. So we are so pleased to have Jeff here with us today. Taryn, I'm going to let you take it over. And since Taryn was the one that worked so closely with Jeff, and share all about this journey.
Thanks, Laura, and
Sure.
thank you to Jeff for being here with us today. It has been so nice getting to know him over the last several months. Laura and I first met Jeff, I think, early this summer, and he came to us and said, I want to do a fundraiser. He was already engaged with us, but before we get into all of that, I'd really like to have Jeff share a little bit more about his myeloma journey and how he got to HealthTree.
Well, thanks a lot. I don't really know how to live up to the hype, so I appreciate the introduction. So I've been at the myeloma thing for just under 2 years. So in July of 22, I was bicycling. That's my form of exercise and stress relief. And I got bit by a fly. And now every time I tell the story, the fly gets bigger and bigger. It's about the size of a small hawk at this stage of the game. But in reality, it was a horsefly. I found out later, and it bit me in the thigh, and I slammed on the brakes and I arched way back and I pulled all the muscles in my chest and my back. I didn't fall, but it was very painful. I took a bunch of Advil for a couple months, went to my doctor, and about December, I was still having pain in my ribs. I never had pain in my back, but I had pain in my ribs, and I finally convinced my local doctor to get a CT scan. I had that done in January. And so January 17 of 2023, he called me and said, hey, you have a broken T4. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. And I went back to my meeting and I thought later, like, how do you break your own backbone? And the answer is you can't. The conclusion was ultimately there was a tumor there. And so that's how I found out that I had myeloma. I am very lucky. It was caught early. I cursed that fly for 6 months because I was sore. But someday when I hit MRD 0, I'm at 12 right now, but someday when I get MRD 0, I'm going to have a little caricature of that fly tattooed on my thigh where he bit me. So that's how I found out. And what else can I tell you there, Taryn?
Well, I think the picture that we have shown on our screen today is actually, can you tell us a little bit about that, Jeff? Is that where the incident took place?
So that was, I took that selfie this past July. So on my 2-year anniversary, I went back to the spot where the fly bit me and I took that selfie. So that's my 2-year anniversary for the fly bite, but my 2-year anniversary for finding out I have myeloma is coming up in January.
Wow. Well, we are just grateful for you being here and sharing your story. I know everyone who's on the call today has their own story, and sometimes it's just nice to hear from others as to what that journey looks like for them and how they can get to the place that you are at now, Jeff. So Laura shared a little bit about your contributions with HealthTree, but also other organizations. And it just sounds like this is something that you've always been intrigued in supporting in any way that you can. But what I'd love to know is, fundraising isn't new to you. And we just want to know what motivated you to fundraise for HealthTree specifically or get involved.
Well, I'm kind of embarrassed to say it, but it's a game for me. So, and it has been for probably about 18 years. I started fundraising years ago for Livestrong. I knew nothing about cancer. And when I moved on from Livestrong, I started fundraising for the Children's Health Cancer or Children's Cancer Research Foundation. And so I've been doing that for a number of years, and it's really kind of a game for me. It's a challenge to figure out, okay, the people that contributed last year, can I get them to engage again? The people, and then new people, new friends that I may have, can I get them to contribute? So probably, I don't know, 10 years ago, my dad and I bicycled across the country from San Diego to St. Augustine. And that was kind of on his bucket list. And so we finished that ride, and we've done some other rides since then. But he's mentioned a number of times Route 66. And he can bike still. He's 86. He just doesn't want to anymore. He says, Jeff, it's not any fun for me anymore. But he still wanted to do something on Route 66. So I came up with this scheme this year that I would fundraise for 3 organizations and try to raise $33,000 for, $22,000 for each organization. And so I termed it the Route $66,000 tour. And so this past October, I did that ride and ended up, the ride went great. Rode about 425 miles over 6 days. It was beautiful. It was hot. I loved it. And ended up raising about $90,000 instead of $66,000. But I wasn't going to ride anymore. I was done after 6 days. So the fundraising piece is just a challenge for me. I'm a salesperson, I would say, at heart, or by training or vocation or whatever you call that. And so to some degree, it's a game for me.
Thanks for sharing that, Jeff. And not only are you contributing in ways like starting your own fundraiser and doing something that you're really passionate about, but you've also been contributing to HealthTree specifically through Cure Hub and participating in that. Laura shared a little bit about that you've done a handful of studies. And so wanted to know a little bit more about what motivated you to join Cure Hub and participate in that way.
When I first got diagnosed, my wife, Jerry, and I knew from our experience, particularly with friends from Livestrong, that first couple months was going to be drinking out of a fire hose. Even though we knew it was coming, it was still awesome. The amount of data that was out there. So we really didn't do much that first couple months other than figure out, what we didn't even know what induction was at the time, but figure out where did we need to go and get through induction. And we did that. And as we were getting through induction, my wife is a research fanatic. And so she was looking at everything. She watched every video. I got to tell you that for some reason, mentally, I just couldn't handle it. I'm not stupid. I usually can process through data, but I just could not take it on. And so Jerry was spending probably 6 hours a day watching videos from all the different organizations, all different doctors. And she would send me the 1 or 2 a day that would be different. And it just so happened that a number of the videos came up from the HealthTree Foundation. And so we kind of put that in the back burner. I got through induction, decided not to do a stem cell transplant, went into a really heavy maintenance period, which I'm still in. And then, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 months ago, I stumbled on HealthTree again, and I just really loved the fact that my data might be able to help somebody else. And Jerry and I talked that 2 years ago when we got diagnosed, that at the time, we look on the internet and, it says, because I have a deletion 17p, so I'm high risk. It basically said I had 3 years to live. Now, that we were looking at the wrong screens, and that's all different now. And I am confident I have more than 3 years. But at the time, that's what we were thinking. And we concluded that, hey, when we run out of drugs, if there's some drug that nobody knows anything about, but it might kill me, but it might help somebody else, we're going to do it. Now, I don't have to go that route right now, which I'm very thankful for. But the fact that HealthTree now can use my information to help somebody else and I can live through it, that was really cool. That's what drew me to HealthTree. I mean, the educational stuff is great. I don't remember what you call it. I'm sorry, but when all that data is in there, it sends you over to something that can help you figure out what your treatment should be. That's really cool. But the thing that really drew me was my data can help somebody else. And I don't have to do anything other than load it.
Yeah. And I know when we had spoken earlier this year, you had talked about, there was a couple of things that you had a hiccup on when you were connecting some of your records, and we were able just to connect you with one of our patient navigators. It sounds like they were able to help in that way. But I think what's important for a lot of folks to hear is that if you don't have a great partner like Jerry that's doing all that research for you and you're just not ready to do that yet, or if you don't know where to begin with getting connected in Cure Hub or starting a fundraiser or making a donation, what would you recommend for other patients to do? Where do you recommend they start if they're just interested in doing something?
I don't know. It's a big question. So it's a huge field and there's so much to do. I can tell you that the theme that I use, and it kind of hit, I can't go back to the slides you were using, but you had one of the slides that Jenny, that you use that kind of hit on it. And it is the theme that I use is what else can I do? And so On January 17, I remember very specifically, I was driving with my dad and we stopped overnight at an Outback, and I had a steak, a baked potato, and a Coke. And then from that point on, I knew right away that I cut out all sugar. I didn't know what the treatment was going to be, but I knew that sugar's bad. I already knew that less meat would be better than more meat. And so eventually my wife and I went down a vegan, we're probably now, we call ourselves a Chegan. We are mostly plant-based and we cheat once in a while. Like for Thanksgiving, I had turkey. And I have a steak for my birthday, that type of thing. But I'm always looking for what else can I do, whether it's data, whether it's contribution, whether it's something I can do for myself. I can tell you my goal right now in the next 10 months is to drop 10% body fat. I want all of my body to be focused on the cancer and not fight anything else. So I don't want to get a cold. I don't want to get the flu. I don't want any other ailments. And so I'm on a mission to eliminate all inflammation. So that's, at this stage, after almost 2 years, I'm looking at like, what else can I do? And that's what I can do physically. The medicine stuff and the research is fantastic, but I have to wait on that. So, and fortunately, I don't need any new medications at this stage of the game. So my advice is, whether it's somebody individually, like what can they do for their own body, or what can they do to educate themselves, to talk to their doctors. I'm surprised at how many people don't know their numbers. I mean, I know I almost have my fish data memorized. I don't have it quite, but I know exactly what my percentages are. And when I go in to talk to the doctors and I can use those numbers, I get a whole different level of respect from the different doctors that I talk to. I don't know. That was a long rambling answer. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, what you're doing, Jeff, is incredible. So you're empowering yourself to get the most out of all your appointments. You're empowering others. You're empowering the research community. What you're doing is extraordinary. So thank you so much for participating in all of the things. It's incredible what you're doing. So we wish every patient was just like you, because if every patient were like that, we would have really fast answers for research. So thank you. I just want to thank you so much for all of that. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your ride. It's incredible.
Well, thanks for the feedback. And I would just add that I think we all can do something else. So the phrase, what else can I do? You don't have to follow me. Everybody has, I mean, the one thing I learned about myeloma is that it's so genetically specific that when I talk to other myeloma patients, you know, if they don't have the same genetics as me, I can tell them what I'm going through, but it really doesn't connect. So we each one of us have to figure out, with our doctors, of course, like, what else can I do? So what else in this particular case can each of us as a patient do? And we all have something we can do to make ourselves better.
Jeff, I'm going to interrupt for a second too, because you've shared some things with me about how you raise awareness, and a little bit about your blog, and I believe you do something with t-shirts. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
So yeah, so years of t-shirts. Well, yeah, I have all kinds of different things, campaigns, I guess, if you will. It gets to entertain myself while I'm sitting in treatment. So when I ride my bike, I have these flags. I put a flag on the back of my bike and I put somebody's name on it. The person's name on my flag right now is Christina, and she actually happens to be a myeloma patient. She's probably 4 or 5 months into it, having a tougher time than I did in my first 4 months. And so I ride for 100 or 150 miles with a flag, and then I post something on social media and on my website, and then I send the flag to whoever I'm riding for. And I've been doing that for 10 or 15 years, not just myeloma, any cancer patient. So if anybody sends me a name and a story, I typically will fit them in or try to fit them in. And I don't know, I've probably done 150 flags like that. And then through treatment, when I was getting ready for a stem cell transplant, the hospital that's close to me, they have an inpatient one. So I was going to be in the hospital for 3 or 4 weeks. And they said, don't walk around in your pajamas all the time. So I thought, well, what am I going to wear? And you have to get to my arms for all the shots and IVs and all that kind of stuff. So I bought 4 or 5 bright colored t-shirts or like golf shirts. And now I ended up not doing the transplant. So I have these shirts. And so now whenever I go into treatment, and it's kind of become a game for people send me now shirts, like I got one from the University of Iowa. I'm a Michigan fan. But I got one from the University of Iowa, and I've gotten Florida. And the one I'm going to wear this coming Monday will be Christmas themed that I bought on eBay. But I wear a different bright shirt to treatment. And so my goal would be, I don't know, maybe it makes somebody's, I mean, the treatment facilities are really nice, but some people are sad and it's tough. I remember my first experience walking into one, I thought, I never want to sit in this waiting room anymore. It doesn't bother me anymore, but hopefully I can make somebody's day a little bit brighter. And so I wear weird shirts every Monday. And I usually, if it's a new one, I post it on my website. And sometimes I tell what I'm thinking, like this last one I posted, it was a bright shirt from an island in the Bahamas. And I had a rough day last week, Monday. So there was no particular reason. I was just down. So it was just like the needles hurt a little bit more last week for some reason. There was no reason for it. It was just psychologically tough. And so I wrote about that and stuck it on the website, and maybe that can help somebody. And otherwise it gives me a release.
It's
Is that
definitely
what you were
helping.
looking for?
Yes, no, I mean, it's
Okay.
incredibly inspiring to not only cancer patients and their families, but people that work in the space. And I just think your attitude is contagious, and it's just a pleasure working with you. So thank you for sharing all of that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Do we have any Q&A that anybody might want to ask Jeff before we turn it over to the HealthTree team?
If you do, feel free to pop it into the Q&A tab at the bottom. I'll keep an eye on that. We do have a couple of other questions that have come through since the start of our webinar. So if you have questions for Jeff, please drop them in there. I'm going to start. We did have a question at the top of the hour that was asking, what is MPN?
Oh, myeloproliferative diseases. So like myelofibrosis.
So they're rare blood cancers. And then we did a comment and question. Someone said, I have CLL. Do you want my information?
Yes, absolutely. So when we decided that we had this amazing technology stack that we could expand. Now, obviously, I'm a myeloma patient. I'm never going to forego my quest for a myeloma cure, ever. I mean, it's my top priority. So the way that we've done this is that we've just expanded our team. So we have an education manager who leads our CLL program. We have a different manager who takes care of our other blood cancers outside of multiple myeloma. And we have CLL. So we have a full CLL website. We have news, educational programming, and we have a HealthTree Cure Hub registry. So you can join that. And actually CLL is probably our second most popular after multiple myeloma for the HealthTree Cure Hub registry. So yes, please join.
Jeff, they're flooding in for you now. Okay. We have a question. What was your treatment, Jeff?
I did, let's see, I did DARA RVD. And I'm 20. I am 58, 57 when I started, and I'm relatively healthy, and my plasma in my spinal cord was about just under 10%, but I did have a deletion 17p, so I went as hard as I could. So I was every 3 days, I think, and for 4 months. So I decided not to do the stem cell transplant because of the deletion 17p. And so it basically took away I ended up going for 12 months on the induction therapy, the DARA RVD. And at the end of the year, I took away the dexamethasone, which was fantastic because I can now sleep all night. But I'm still on the same. They backed off the doses a little bit. I'm in every other week instead of twice a week. But I'm still using RVD.
Jeff, someone had asked about your website, your blog.
It's like how to get to it. It's Jeff at theroadrider.com. Or I guess it wouldn't be that. That's my email. So it's just theroadrider.com. I don't know if I can type in, maybe somebody can type that in.
We can put it in our email tomorrow too.
Okay.
To everybody.
And it's wide open. My social media is wide open. I don't block anything. Drives my wife crazy, but anybody can get to it. So I don't have anything confidential out there. Yeah, it's all open. So you can join the website, and then whenever I post something new, I post on the books that I read, the t-shirts, the flags. Once in a while I give an update. I haven't done a update on my myeloma journey. I had read a book, doggone it, I'm going to forget her name. Sarah Sandberg used to be the COO at Facebook. I think that was her title. Wrote a book called Option B. And so when I first found out I was diagnosed, my campaign is Option B. And so I'm quoting from the book, but I use it regularly. Her thesis is if option A doesn't work, then kick the shit out of option B. And so my option B is to get rid of myeloma. So that's it. Those would be the 4 themes on my website.
Well, we're united in that effort. And when I was diagnosed, I was 43, and I didn't want just 5 more years of life. I need 30, 40 more years of life. So that's why we have such intensity and have been moving so quickly. And if you look at it, we have built 14 software tools in the last 6 years, which is an extraordinary number of tools to provide the advocacy, the education, the connections, and this important data registry. What other questions might we have, Taryn?
We have a question of, do we have examples of how patients' data is used and the corresponding benefits? Is there anywhere on the website that I can find that?
So we have a full list of publications on our website. You can find that under research or Cure Hub. We have like all those different projects. I think one of the key benefits, well, you have the engineering personalities who like to track their labs. That's a key benefit, that you don't have to do that anymore in a spreadsheet. You can do that in HealthTree Cure Hub, and it comes in for multiple facilities. You can use your information to help you prep for a second opinion as well. So there's a way for you to download a summary of your treatment journey. We also have treatment options that you can see based on expert opinion. We'll be using data or AI and machine learning to further advance that, to create a formal clinical decision support tool. So you'll see us create that. Right now you can match with a twin if you want to match with a twin. And you go into our twin machine technology and it'll pull up different filters that you can add to or take away from, and then filter and see people in a de-identified way on the platform and reach out to them and connect with them. So that's an additional benefit. And then we're working on our AI-based clinical trial finder in addition to that. But all the research, every time you participate in a research project, we're trying to turn that data around to you. So you understand what happened with the data and what your participation really entailed and why it was so critical. So for example, we did over 1,000 patient decision-making survey last year to understand how patients are making decisions. When COVID hit, that was our first project. We wanted to better understand what COVID meant to myeloma patients. We had over 2,000 patients participate in that project. We now have many hundreds, almost 1,000 patients who are participating in OLA's project at University of Miami. We have, this year we will accomplish probably 50 different studies Our goal is to finish 100 by the end of the year. Let me give an example. We just gave our Innovation Award to Raul Banerjee at Fred Hutch. He noticed that we were capturing cataract data in HealthTree Cure Hub, and he said, can I search the cataract data and link it to see if there's a correlation between that and dexamethasone? We all hate dexamethasone. Jeff hates it, I hate it, wrote a song about it. It's awful. Nobody wants to be on it. And now there's another reason to have your doctor taper it or lower the dose or even reduce it, because Dex can cause cataracts with long-term use. So he saw that correlation, we pulled the data for him, and then he said, I'm going to do a follow-up survey with patients. So then he did a follow-up survey, and he proved that dexamethasone causes cataracts at a certain dosage level. And he published on that research, shared it with the community. That is practice changing. That is what we want to have happen. For another example is one that there are probably 15% of patients who are dying from blood clots. This does not make any sense in today's world. So we have two researchers who want to understand who had blood clots, why. And on some clinical trials, you'll get blood thinners sometimes in your treatment. Sometimes they're required in clinical trials and they're not even being given. So that doesn't make any sense. What's the barrier? Why are patients still dying of something like a blood clot in this day and age? And this is practice changing. So we want these types of projects that will completely revolutionize, improve clinical practice, even with no new drugs developed. And regardless, we have so many new drug classes coming out. There's no possible way that enough clinical trials can be run to better understand the sequencing of what's happening right now. Like for a high-risk patient, what is the best sequence of drugs? Is transplant okay for high-risk patients? Is it not okay for high-risk patients? We need to start personalizing therapy for patients. So what's better, CAR T first, bispecifics first? Do you kind of lose a shot if you do one before the other? Should you do GPRC5D directed therapies or BCMA directed therapies? Or what's the best option? The companies who have gotten drugs approved will not run those clinical trials. Those are investigator-led studies. And if we can do most of the data capture from a large data set, they don't even have to run a formal trial. So this saves time and money. Same thing for drug development even. The FDA is moving closer. Real world data, that's what this data set is called, used to be kind of poo-pooed, I would say, about 5 years ago. At this ASH conference, we saw so many abstracts based on real world data. Why? Because as it gets more complete, and that's why we're providing the most complete data set, we want the cleanest and most complete data set possible so you can use it for real world data. So let's say, for example, a company runs a phase 1 and then a phase 2, and then they're trying to do their phase 3 study. Some of the myeloma doctors are saying it's so challenging to do a phase 3 study now because by the time people get to this phase 3, they've exhausted all the treatment options and there's no great control arm. So what if you went into the data and just said, well, forget the control arm, just use existing data for that and use the new therapy compared to that data. That saves millions, I would say billions of dollars. Phase 3 studies are studies that have 300 to 700 patients in them. They're very expensive. They take a long time to run, and we could shave, 3 to 5 years off the clinical trial development. It takes an average of 17 years to develop a new drug and get it into the marketplace. So what we're taking today as myeloma patients, these are drugs that were worked on 17 years ago. How do we shorten up that process? How do we as patients make that contribution? And this is the first time that patients have had this ability before to contribute in this kind of way.
Thanks, Jenny. We have a question specific to how or what we're doing to reach the African American community to get them more involved in testing and treatment and overcoming their distrust of the medical system. And better educating themselves in multiple myeloma and other cancers?
It's a great question. And I'll start, and then Taryn, I think you should chat about the cure teams. So we have a program called Black Myeloma Health, and it is a program specifically for Black myeloma patients. And they can join the community. Valerie Tranium, she's a myeloma patient herself. She leads that community. She runs monthly webinars. She has a social media group, and she has a group in HealthTree Connect as well. And she runs that program. So that program includes in-person meetings to educate the community as well and involve them. And then Taryn, do you want to talk about the cure teams?
Yes, and I'm going to be leading our HealthTree regional cure teams, and that's really the volunteer arm of our organization. So cure teams are getting developed now and they're launching at the start of the year, but we invite anybody who is looking to get involved in any capacity to support outreach efforts, Cure Hub presentations and participation efforts, and fundraising. And within our cure teams, we do have leadership opportunities. So we do have captains who are leading out in the regions that work, and we also have specialized leaders such as Black health outreach specialists that are really focused on identifying where the needs are within those communities, within those regions, and putting together a strategy to get deeper into those communities and share the resources and building that trust. So if you're interested in learning more or want to get involved in supporting the Black health initiatives that we have at HealthTree, you can contact me directly. I can drop my information into the chat, but we encourage anybody who's looking to support those efforts to join a cure team.
Or even just regional, like if you're in a region and you want to volunteer in some way, and it could be something simple like handing out HealthTree brochures so these general oncology centers understand, patients in those centers have a harder time finding resources. At the ASH meeting, they said 1 in 4 patients has no idea that patient advocacy organizations exist. So, 3/4 of patients are in the dark. And if you want to help, you can help.
Yeah, and Jenny, I did have a comment that I wanted to share with you. We have a CLL patient who just wanted to thank you for expanding HealthTree to other blood cancers. HealthTree was the most important partner for them in their initial stage of their diagnosis, and just having the education and everything to learn has been really impactful for this patient.
Well, thank you. We're so excited to be able to open up more research. And we had CLL doctors come to us at ASH and who will be creating their institutional registries. So it's really exciting to see it open up. We go deep right now in CLL, MDS, AML, myelofibrosis, follicular lymphoma, and DLBCL. Of course, multiple myeloma, because that's been our most longstanding disease. And we will continue to add kind of deeper data sets there, as well as educational programs.
Thanks. I'm still sifting through our questions. It looks like Jeff is doing some answering for those specific to him. One more comment just came through. Many thanks for all that you are doing to help find a cure for myeloma and other cancers. Most, if not all of us, have great hope that there will be a day when no one dies from this. Better still, no one gets this. When I was diagnosed in 2018, I'd never heard of multiple myeloma. Now it seems that I'm hearing about somebody I know is newly diagnosed. So just thank you so much for everybody who had the time and joined our meeting today. I did want to give some time for Jenny and Laura for any closing comments before we end our meeting.
Great. Thank you so much, Taryn. As the Chief Growth Officer, my 2 goals that I am most committed to achieving are getting 25,000 patients into the Cure Hub registry and raising money so that we can really accelerate this entire process. As Jenny mentioned, we have 10,000 patients currently in Cure Hub, and we need to get 15,000 in the next 12 months, which means we need every patient's data. Every piece of data is significant. And not only do we need every patient to join Cure Hub, we need every patient to tell 10 other patients to join Cure Hub and talk to their doctor about HealthTree and the Cure Hub registry. The entire Cure Hub team is there to help you in any way that you need it. We have an incredible patient navigation team that can help people with technology, understanding their blood tests, prepping them for their doctor meetings, all of that. So please, please take advantage of it. As I said, we are going to raise $1 million by the end of this year, which is fast approaching. I'm very excited to tell you that we are at $669,000, and we have a $200,000 match that is going to continue until the end of the year. We are absolutely committed to not only meet, but hopefully exceed this goal. Every single dollar matters. Every donation is significant and brings us closer to a cure. I hope each and every one of you will act now. There are 3 things that we would love for you to do. A, join CureHub. There's a phone number there. There's email. We will be sending out a follow-up email tomorrow that will have names, phone numbers, as well as links. Please consider making a donation. You can text CURE to 24365 or scan this QR code, or obviously visit our website, and please get involved. Myself, Taryn, and there's a whole group of us over at HealthTree that are here to help you find the exact unique way in which you can help us accelerate our mission and be a cure contributor, just like Jeff and Jenny and so many other patients out there. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We look forward to achieving these goals with you. $1 million in the next 3 weeks. We're very, very excited. And 15,000 more patients this time next year. Thanks so much for joining us.
Bye, everyone. And thank you, Jeff.
There was a question about the recording, and we will be having that sent out as well. So thank you.